Welcome to God's Guiding Light. Hello, Jessica.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. Yourself?
I'm doing great.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your conversion story with us.
Yeah,
Tell
not a problem.
tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you? What are you doing? I hear you live in the Rocky Mountains. Is that correct?
Well, I'm currently in Orem,
Mhm.
and then but I moved out here a year and a half ago. My daughter and I, we're originally from Ohio, born and raised. My whole life was there, and yeah, we just sold everything and moved out here.
Well, that's an adventure, isn't it?
Yes.
Have you been through the snow yet in Utah?
Yeah, we came out here last summer, but there we always go back to Ohio for
Mhm.
Christmas, and I feel like that's when the bulk of the snow came.
All right. Well, I like to ask three questions. The first question is, what was life like before finding the gospel?
I talk about this a lot. To me, my life was happy. I come from a family that was not religious. We were never, had gone to church before, um, lived with the single mom at times, and then moved in with my dad. And um, I have two siblings. And um, when I was younger, I remember being very family focused, our family. And then once my parents got divorced, the family aspect kind of went away.
How
Um,
old were you?
I
How
was
old?
in fourth grade, so
Oh, so
like
young.
10, yeah. But I had always tried to do like live better than what I was raised in, right?
Mhm.
Like I think that's what everybody does. Um, and so, but I mean, I went to college. Um, I didn't graduate from college, but I did go to college, and then got a job, had lots of friends. Like I was living a good life.
The split of your parents, have you come to grips with that? I know that really sometimes that's a lot of weight for a lot of people.
Yeah, honestly, it didn't take long. I mean, to get over it. They fought a lot, and
Mhm.
so it's kind of better for everybody.
Gotcha.
And it's kind of it was the norm in the area. Everybody's parents got divorced. Like that was just the thing.
Tragic and sad, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of bad things that happened, and I'm not going to go into all of those details, but there was a lot of things that happened that helped lead me to where I am today. And like looking back on it now, I can see God's hand in that. Um,
Gotcha.
but I didn't realize that before.
I see. Well, then let me ask you this. You said you saw God's hand in your life. How did you find the gospel?
So my brother actually married a member, and they got engaged when I started dating my daughter's dad. And then we ended up moving to the same town just randomly. And
In Ohio.
then in
Out
Ohio.
in
Yep.
Ohio.
Yep. So my brother and sister-in-law were in this a town that I ended up moving into with my daughter's dad. And my relationship was really bad. It was a really bad relationship. I was pregnant. We had just gotten custody of his oldest daughter, and it was just a very he's an alcoholic person, like emotional abuse. But I stayed because of his oldest daughter, Felicity, which I ended up getting custody of
Mhm.
when I left. But I was in this really dark place, and they kept sending the missionaries to my house, and then I kept sending them away because I was just like, there's no way I can even like think about anything when I'm in such a deep, dark place. When I was 17, I was told I couldn't have kids. And then I ended up getting pregnant at 30. And so that was kind of the whole thought of science is wrong. Like I'm
Right.
growing a child, like, and science can't make a child. And so that kind of put thoughts in my head. And I would talk to my brother about it. And then they just sent missionaries to my house. And then I finally talked to the missionaries, and they answered questions that I had asked before. When I was in college, I took a religion class, and we got to go to like all the different churches and talk to different pastors and leaders of the churches. And every time I asked the questions, like, why are there so many religions? Why, if there's only one God, why do we call them different things? All, just common questions that somebody that wasn't religious or born into religion would ask. And they all gave me different answers. And I was just like, all right, well, yeah, this isn't for me. But when they sent the missionaries to my house and they answered my questions, I immediately knew it was true.
Amazing.
There was no question about who God was to me then when they answered these. Like it all just made sense. Joseph Smith, the Book of Mormon, everything about it made sense. And so I just kept taking lessons. I left my boyfriend, took both my daughters. My youngest was 18 months, and his daughter, who I got custody of, she was 14 at that time. And missionaries helped me move like 3 times. I moved in with my brother, and then moved into an apartment, and then moved into another apartment. And just every day, just tried to grow my testimony and just try to understand more and grow my deeper relationship with Christ.
When you say that it made sense to you, what was that experience like? What's the first thing you remember when they said something to you and you went, "Oh my gosh, these guys are, this is true." And did you feel it? Did it just make sense logically? Was it in your heart?
The,
what was the process?
the first thing that they told me was that there was a living prophet on the earth today.
Mhm.
And that was one of the things I had questioned before is like, God had always had prophets, right? Like
Right.
Old Testament, New Testament, there was always prophets. He would never leave his people without a prophet if he's real, right?
Correct.
And so
Well, I agree with you, obviously.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so when he told me, or when they told me that we have a living prophet that leads and guides the church, like it was, my whole body got chills. Like I just knew. And then
Nice.
they started talking about Joseph Smith and how he was the first prophet in our day, and the Book of Mormon and how it was buried, and it just chills the whole time. And so I didn't question it because I've come to learn that when I have a question, and I know this isn't for everybody, so I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but when I have a question, he tells me yes or no, like right away.
Oh, nice.
Like I immediately know. Like when I was investigating the church, there were some things about the church that I was like, "Whoa, that doesn't sit well with me. Like why would God do that? Whatever." And I immediately got an answer, and I just knew, and I understood it, and it made sense, and I just let it, like I don't have to think about it anymore. And maybe it's because I came in so late, and or like that's not something I need to question or research, that he needs me to question or research.
Right. Now,
Um,
did you have any cultural pushback? Did you have any friends who are saying, "Don't get involved in this. This is crazy stuff"?
a lot of people I worked with,
Uh-huh.
they're very Catholic. They just told me to be very careful because, false prophecy, apostasy, just all of these things. So yeah, I mean, I did. And then I chose to like, I lost a lot of friends, not because of the church, but because my lifestyle changed. I was a drinker, I was a smoker. I did what I wanted. I never really drank coffee or tea, so that wasn't a problem. And luckily, like I had just had my daughter a year before, so like I was never really a big drinker anyway, but the smoking was the hard part. But the missionaries, they helped a lot with that. And I'm still really good friends with them today.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
Your brother, he married, you said he married the Latter-day Saint girl.
Yes.
Did he marry her first and then join the church, or did he join first and then marry
I
her?
think he joined first and then they got married.
Okay.
I
And
think. I can't remember. That was forever ago.
yeah, yeah.
It was
And
all really quick though. But I remember laughing at him because they would spend 3 hours in the afternoon going to church, and they
oh,
had to drive an hour to get to the church building. And I was like, you are like, you're spending 5 hours like going to church. Like,
wow.
are you crazy? And then I ended up doing it.
Yeah.
Another thing too is when I was baptized, I spoke at all kinds of firesides for the missionaries. I became like a mission mom
Mhm.
there, and I spoke at so many different firesides and zone conferences to help missionaries understand a convert's perspective. So like they keep teaching things, but a lot of missionaries don't have experience, right? They don't have life experience with addiction and abuse and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I was able to travel around our area, the whole mission boundary really, and help with missionary work, and go to, if they had a convert that was struggling with something, they would ask me to come or ask me to call in and I would go with my daughters. They're with me all the time. She would see me doing this missionary work and help people just understand that it's okay to have an addiction. It's okay if you have a testimony of everything but tithing. Go to church anyway. Get baptized anyway. It will come. And I think there's a stigma around Mormon culture, you know?
Mhm.
And as converts, not being raised in the church lifelong, I don't ever focus on cultural things. And it's hard because a lot of members do. They're like, "Oh, you can't do that." And I'm like, "Show me where it says that because that's a cultural thing. You have all these fences, right?" And so I'm opening eyes up to for people even in my current ward.
Very, very nice. So they're still in Ohio?
Yes, my whole family is in Ohio.
So you're by yourself out in Orem.
Yep, just me and my daughter.
Do you feel like you fit in there?
I do. You know, it's funny because I moved because I felt like that's what God wanted me to do. I felt called. I pushed back on it a lot, but
Yeah.
He made everything that I needed to happen to make the move happen. And so His hand is definitely in this. I didn't want to come to Orem. I had never been to Orem in my life. I spent a week in St. George looking for places, and I spent time in Arizona,
Oh,
and I didn't want to be cold. And
yeah, I'm with you. I love Arizona, and if I were to move to Utah, it would be St. George.
yeah.
That's the way I feel it. So let me ask you this. You kind of touched on it, but how is your life different now that you've joined the church, that you found the gospel,
I feel like I have joy and purpose. You know, I was happy before the church. Like I wasn't sad, I wasn't miserable.
right?
But I joining the church, I now know I have a purpose. I have a divine purpose. I'm not just here to live and die. Like there's a purpose, there's a reason why I'm here. Um, I'd already chose God once and now I'm here to choose him again. Um,
Brilliant point. Brilliant point. That
yeah.
so few people realize that it's all about right and wrong and good and evil, and that we've been on this track for a long time and had to make
Mhm.
decisions along the way. So
Yeah.
bravo to you.
Thanks.
Very nice.
I but just purpose, just joy. I mean, just knowing that what I'm doing is taking me to my place for an eternity. Like my life's not over when I die. And so the whole perspective of my life completely changed.
Now, are you seeing? If you don't want to go here, that's okay. What about your daughter? Is she accepting of the gospel? Is she loving it? Is she into
Yes.
it?
Yeah, so she was 18 months when I joined the church.
Hmm.
She was a year when I started investigating the church. So she was born and raised pretty much in the church, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I was baptized in January of 2018, and in March I was called as the primary president. So that is when I learned that Jesus is funny and he has a funny sense of humor. But I mean, she was with me at the church all the time. We were in a really small ward, and so all the activities, like I was there every Wednesday, I was there for hours on Sunday, like, and she was with me the whole time. And so she absolutely loves the gospel. I asked her if she wanted to be baptized. She said yes. And so we flew back to Ohio, and my brother baptized her with my nephew.
Oh, how nice.
Um, but yeah, no, she loves the gospel. If she was here, she would probably tell you all the blessings that she has seen since moving out to Utah. She loves talking about it, just like me. So
That's wonderful.
yeah,
That's
she's gonna be a
wonderful.
great missionary.
It's so nice to see. It's so nice to see the joy, the deep joy in your life, and to hear about it. That really it touches me. I really, really enjoyed your story. Is there anything that you would like to say about the gospel or your life, or anything that we didn't touch on?
So there was a big point in my during my investigation that really changed everything. And so because I was having a hard time to quitting smoking, and the missionaries, they had already taught me all the lessons, probably like 5 or 6 times. And so we were on the topic of where God had been in my life. And I'm gonna try not to cry. But when I was in 7th grade, a friend of mine passed away. He got hit by a car. And I walked around my little town and collected money for his family. And then we took the money to his family. And then I moved to Chicago shortly after that. So I like never seen them after that. Well, we were in Relief Society. I was still investigating. And they had asked the sister to give a closing prayer. And they had the same last name. And so I went up to her afterwards and I asked her if she was his mom. And she said yes. And I said, I was really good friends with him. I don't know if you're going to remember me, but I was the one that brought you that check. And she immediately started crying. And at that moment, I had a flashback of where God had been my entire life. I could see why things happened. I could see why I did things, why things happened to me. Everything. I saw his hand in every move, every action, every reaction.
Wow.
And I was baptized 2 weeks later.
Nice. Moving forward, sometimes you feel like you're by yourself on occasion and that you just don't know what to do next. But when you turn around and look back down the road, you can see that God's hand was there every step of the way guiding you.
Yeah,
That's
there's so many of those moments, even like with me feeling called to move.
Mhm.
And I fought it for so long, and like I like was pleading with God, like, okay, I'll go, but I need these things to happen. And one of the things I'll just say it is I wanted to have $10,000 saved for the move. I was planning on moving within a year, like
Mhm.
$10,000. I want to save it. I'm a single mom. I need to make sure I have a job, make sure I get to provide for my daughter. And after a couple months, I'd only had like 2,000, a little over $2,000 saved. And I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to do this. And then we got an extra Christmas bonus. Only certain people got an extra Christmas bonus that year, and I was one of them. And the amount that was deposited, so after taxes were taken out, was the exact amount that I needed to add to the stuff I had saved to equal $10,000.
Wow. Wow.
And so there's so many of those moments that have happened that had just told me that I'm on the right path and I'm doing what God wants me to do. Why am I in Orem, Utah? I have no idea. But I've been here for a year and a half and I'm
Mhm.
trying to figure it out. And he's helping me. He's guiding me. He's blessing me. Um, he's blessing my daughter. Like we miss our family. We miss our friends back home,
Yeah.
but we're not homesick. We're very content. We've made friends, great friends right away. Like he really is providing for us, and I think that's what this journey was for me at first, was to take my faith, because I'd had that as a convert, and learn to trust God, because I didn't. And I think a lot of people forget that. You can have faith, but do you really trust him? Do you trust him with your life?
Right, right, right. Sure.
And that is something I have learned. I just put it in God's hand because I know he's going to take care of me. I know that for a fact now.
That's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Well, Jessica, I'm so grateful that you found the gospel. I'm so pleased to have you as a sister. Thank you for sharing the story with us. God bless you and your daughter, and I look forward to maybe running into you sometime and hearing where God has taken you.
Absolutely. Keep in touch. And if you have any other questions or just want to know more, let me know.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.